Now at 4, project delayed. The reason drivers on Indy's west side may have to rely on detours for another year.
And
autumn air right now, temperatures in the 70s. We're going to have another chilly night ahead in the forecast, though.
plus a dire warning from Plainfield police following a big bust. The deadly drug now masquerading under a different name. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
Good afternoon. Great to have you here with us at 4 o'clock. I'm Dustin Grove.
And I'm Felicia Lawrence. And right now we're learning the timeline to reopen a busy stretch of Washington Street on Indy's west side. And we know that timeline just got longer.
Let's show you where we're talking about. This is ongoing bridge work over Little Eagle Creek. This is between Tibbs and Holt Road. Of course, you can imagine how this delay is frustrating for drivers, but imagine being a business owner there.
Samantha Johnson talked with them today.
These days, West Washington Street looks more like a parking lot. There is zero traffic passing by Joe's Auto Sales. The bridge is out, but Joe's is open, just yards from the construction. And for people like George Creer, this project is becoming more than a headache.
You know, it's a dangerous situation. Somebody's going to get hurt.
That's because even though the road has been closed since April, people still pass through, rather than taking what George considers an unreasonable detour.
When I told them about the city, you know, about people crossing over here, they just put a sign up over there saying sidewalk closed. That didn't do much. They can go across this way or they can go down there, and they do that. They'll go down and cross the creek.
And this closure now expected to last another year after Indy DPW discovered the historic bridge was in worse shape than expected.
And we've made the decision to do the right thing, repair this bridge the right way the first time, and so we're not having to come back here again in a short amount of time and do even more work.
It was a project that originally would have closed the road for 4 months. Now it'll be more like 16 months on one of the main thoroughfares into downtown.
That's why we do business here. That's why Temple Rents does business here. It's the car count.
But with no cars, Joe's is forced to change the way they do business.
We do a lot more online.
But he says it isn't sustainable for another year.
There's a lot of people that are going to go out of business or have to, you know, downsize.
Indy DPW says the road is expected to reopen next summer. On the west side, Samantha Johnson, 13 News.
Man, you really feel for those people, huh?
Absolutely, it can impact businesses for sure.
Yeah.
A warning today from police in Hendricks County. It has to do with the deadly drug.
Our Emily Longnecker is looking into how often police are now seeing this drug, along with other drugs in Plainfield and the costly consequences.
Yeah, Plainfield police say it's becoming more common for their officers to see fentanyl out here on the streets of Plainfield. They say just last week an officer did a traffic stop right here on US 40 in downtown Plainfield. And in that car, among other drugs, the officer found fentanyl. He believes the suspect was intending to sell.
56 fentanyl pills. Officers call M30s because of how they're marked. That's what a Plainfield police officer took out of a car last week after pulling it over. Police say there were other drugs too: Xanax, meth, cocaine, and more than $1,000 cash. According to police, so far this year in Plainfield, there have been 8 overdose deaths. 5 of them involve fentanyl, something the Hendricks County coroner doesn't dispute. Even though overdose deaths are down in Hendricks County this year, Plainfield police want residents to know fentanyl isn't going anywhere. They also want families to know it's showing up in other drugs too. They say even the slightest amount can be deadly.
But I think a lot of people just don't consider fentanyl being attached to just about any other drug you would take. I mean, it can be with meth, cocaine, heroin, it can be with anything, or by itself a standalone crushed pill.
Advocates providing support to those who may struggle with substance abuse say there are resources like Overdose Lifeline, where people can request Narcan and fentanyl test strips. There's also a map that shows where Narcan vending machines are across the state. They say both Narcan and the testing strips can help save lives.
And coming up tonight at 5:30, we'll hear from a father who knows all too well the impact fentanyl is having on families. He lost his son a few years ago to an overdose. In Plainfield, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
Thanks, Emily. And this afternoon's police reports are providing more details on a Lawrence triple shooting this week. Police there tell us the gunfire erupted after an altercation between 2 groups with ties back to Central America. So this happened Sunday night at the intersection of East 42nd Street and North Post Road. And we now know the 3rd victim in that shooting is Juan Escobar. So Escobar, Candido Escobar, and Daniel Uribe all died in the shooting. And now we know the argument started over allegations of murder and a land dispute in Honduras. And it made its way to Indiana. Lawrence police have arrested 2 people in connection to this shooting on preliminary charges of battery and criminal recklessness. Our team is digging into those police documents, and we're going to bring you the updates on 13 News at 4. And the man shot by a Carmel police officer earlier this month is now facing charges. According to court documents, Daniel Castillo was harassing his girlfriend and a couple who lived in the same apartment complex. Court documents say he called the girlfriend 190 times over a period of about 4 hours and sent threatening text messages. Police say they shot Castillo after they say he rammed into a police vehicle. And police say he continued hitting the vehicle after being shot. Castillo is facing multiple charges, including aggravated battery and criminal recklessness.
Today, Metro Police announced the arrest of a 3rd suspect in a 3-year-old murder case. It happened back in November of 2021 near West Vermont and North Lyndhurst on the west side. 31-year-old Eugene Foy has been formally charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of robbery, along with unlawful possession of a firearm by a serious violent felon in connection with Jeffrey Harold's death. 2 other suspects have already been sentenced. Investigators say information from the public was critical in putting together their case.
Well, 2 big stars of the Democratic Party took the stage last night at the DNC.
The Obamas attacking former President Donald Trump and making the case for the Harris-Walz ticket. Now we're preparing for Governor Tim Walz to take the stage tonight.
NBC's Alice Barr has more from Chicago.
Hi there. The big event tonight from the Democratic National Convention in Chicago will be Minnesota Governor Tim Walz formally accepting his party's nomination for vice president and taking that opportunity on this national stage to introduce himself to much of this country that still doesn't know a whole lot about who he is. They may have heard him referred to as Coach Walz from his high school football days, or also may have heard about some of his Army National Guard background, but he has a lot to do to reveal who he is, what he stands for as Vice President Harris's running mate. Last night was really the Obama show, and that is when both former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama took the stage, and they used their characteristic message of hope, but they also talked about backing that up. Michelle Obama led the audience in a call and response about not being anxious about whether the United States was ready to elect someone like Vice President Kamala Harris, but about getting out there and doing something to be sure that she was elected. And then both of the Obamas also went on the attack against former President Trump in a way we haven't necessarily seen before. And they talked about how we didn't need to see another Trump presidency, former President Obama saying that the sequel is always worse than the original. That was a moment that really electrified the crowd here in the United Center as top Democrats made their pitch to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in November. From the DNC in Chicago, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Alice, thank you. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, are on the campaign trail this week. Today, the pair made a stop in Asheboro, North Carolina to talk about national security. This will be Trump's second visit to North Carolina in a week. It also marks his first outdoor rally since that assassination attempt on him.
All right, we're going to switch gears here, talk a little weather, talking autumn air here in August. Had the chilly start this morning. Nice recovery. What a pleasant afternoon it is. A little bit more haze we've noticed in the sky, but still temperatures very comfortable. Low to mid 70s over central Indiana. We still have that northeast wind here, and we've seen that cloud deck kind of flaring up once again. It's the low level variety, not as much as yesterday, and we're going to peel these back as we go through the evening and overnight tonight. At this hour here in Indy, 73, east and northeast wind at about 6 miles per hour. Temperatures tomorrow morning in the 40s and lower 50s. We'll have the warm up ahead. Let's get you caught up on traffic with Matt.
John, we are having a lot of different small accidents across in the Indianapolis area. None of them are causing huge backups, but you can see the different accidents that are popping up now. We've had an accident there on the northeast side. This is just north of 71st Street, north of 56th Street. This is looking towards the southbound lanes as you're going from Fishers headed south towards Lawrence Township. Traffic is full, but we're still moving. The camera doesn't quite get it, but there's a small accident there on the side of the road. We're still moving okay. That's some good news. In Fishers right now, we've had a little bit slower traffic on I-69 north as you head to Pendleton. Otherwise, we're moving a little bit slow in a couple of spots. We'll have another traffic update for you in about 10 minutes.